wanted to share something that I felt was really profound really quickly. I was going to jump on here on video chat, but I was like, no, because I'm in a space and you all may be in a space, or you may be resting, whatever it may be, and I don't want to disturb you. But I was standing in the bathroom and I was contemplating on some of the music that got me through some really tough times as a kid. I've been doing different forms of shadow work, so listening to music from moments that I remember were dark times, and intentionally listening to songs from those times to excavate the repressed emotions that I've forgotten that lie dormant within me. And as I was doing that, a song came to me, "Don't Worry, Be Happy." And I'll never forget when I first heard that song. It was the only song that made my life make sense. And he said that when you worry, you actually double the trouble. And I remember being 9 years old, and for 2 years, I would listen to that song over and over whenever I could catch it on the radio, on somebody's TV. And I would listen to it over and over again, and I would just bathe myself in those words. And at this time, my mom and my dad had been divorced for about 4 years. And so I went from living on the military base to living in the hood, and it was such a drastic change of lifestyle. And so as I forgot about this song, I just so happened to pick up my phone to see why TikTok blocked out my video. And I saw that it was a copyright claim on a song, which I thought was an original track that I got from a producer. So I was getting ready to delete it, and Spirit said, swipe one time. And I swiped, and Bobby McFerrin popped up. The crazy thing was, I never knew the name of the artist of Don't Worry, Be Happy. And when I learned that that's who it was almost as if the universe was echoing back to me that I am on to something very powerful. And so I listened to it, and the words still ring true, even more truer. He was teaching the law of attraction. He was teaching the laws of magnetism. He was teaching the laws of hermetics. And so I just started binge watching his material because I connected with his heart, his sound, his soul, and what was coming through him. And I saw a video of him hitting his chest and humming and singing, and these words I'd never heard before. And this is something that I do when I'm in deep processing and self-soothing myself during and after shadow work. And I never shared that with anybody except for Ernest. He's the only person that has ever saw me do this, and the kids, of course. But it wasn't something that I ever intended on sharing publicly. But watching someone who is such a genius, someone who got me through a tough time, do this, it reminded me of the geniusness within the ancestral codes within our DNA. And even though I never saw that before, it was something that I created to soothe me. And he was sitting in this stadium with so many people and touching each and every one of them. He had no fear. He wasn't concerned about how people would judge him, would they criticize him, what would they think. It was just a freedom that he was offering in his frequency, and it just stuck with me. And I said, it's something about this man. And I remember pretending that he was my dad back in the day. He kind of reminded me of my dad. And I came across a video with another woman, and she was like, yeah, I love Bobby McFerrin. He reminded me of my dad. And he brought that memory back to me. And so I would adopt dads when my daddy wasn't in my life anymore. And it helped me get through not having my biological father with me. So that memory came back to me. And I started to just sob. And I couldn't hold the tears back. Spirit said, go do what you did when you were a kid. You have been doing shadow work your whole life. And I went and I stood in the mirror and I stared into my eyes as I cried. And I did not look away. I did not allow myself to look away. And as I was doing that, I remembered all the times that I did this throughout my life. I thought something was wrong with me throughout my life. I didn't know why when I cried, I wanted to look at myself in the mirror. And I spent a lot of my life crying. Sometimes I couldn't go to school the next day because my eyes were swollen shut. I would skip school. So all these memories were coming back to me. And as I was standing there, it occurred to me. For a lot of us, and especially a lot of men who have a difficult time being with intense emotions, being present and staying present in a compassionate way with sadness and anger and grief and rage. And a lot of times for those of us who are in relationships with men who have been affected by trauma and have not really integrated with their shadow self yet and healed their wounded inner child, it's uncomfortable for them, and they'll try to soothe us when really we just want them to be there and just be a placeholder, space holder. They'll try to make us laugh or distract us when really we just want to be seen, heard, and embraced. And so as I was standing there, I clearly heard my Our Divine Self say, Kamson, it's time for you to teach this. You're ready to teach this. And the practice of holding compassionate space for yourself when you're experiencing emotions and memories that may not feel good, it allows you to expand your capacity to be with different frequencies. You can increase your emotional resilience. You can increase your ability to be emotionally grounded in the presence of those intense emotions. And if a lot, of emotions we repress, then it's natural to do so. It's a survival strategy. But if we learn to be with ourselves in this deep, intimate way, and men practice doing this, they can then extend that love and compassion to us. But because being emotional is something that was demonized, and we've pushed it down, pushed it back and compartmentalized, a lot of times people try to hold that space with us, but they're not equipped to do so in a way where it's effective, it's beneficial. And sometimes this leads to the masculine avoiding the feminine because she's too emotional. And so as I was thinking about this, I said, this is really good because this is something that I crave for my partner, and it's something that's difficult for him. The emotions of happiness and joy, it's not too difficult to be with me in those moments. And I had to be realistic and know that he hasn't learned to embrace his own emotions, not the ones that are deemed as bad, not useful, not logical. And a lot of us are fragmented. We have fragmented aspects of ourselves that are in remnants that are seeking to come back to us so that we can become whole, so that we can experience our wholeness. And I believe with all of my heart, after 3 days of not knowing what direction to go in with my sacred calling, I believe with all of my heart, this is the next level of alchemy that I'll be teaching. And I wanted to share this with y'all. And I'm going to dedicate some time to make sure that I share this because I want men to challenge themselves to be emotional, to be sad, to grieve, to feel anger, to feel rage, and look themselves straight in the eyes, gazing into their soul, refusing to look away, no matter how uncomfortable it seems, no matter how negative the inner critic becomes. And in doing that, they become better sacred space holders for the women on the planet who are craving the divine masculine's presence. And as we are learning to cultivate the divine masculine within ourselves, the only way that we will create a paradigm shift based on love and harmony and not ego is for us to learn how to be in sacred holding of these emotions.
To me, my life.